In this video, I will explain the concept of agent skills, and I think this will be a key component of agentic AI from today onwards. I think the year of 2025 was all about AI agents, and my guess is that 2026 is all about agent skills. And so that's why I want to make a deep dive. Anthropic actually wrote a longer blog post in October 2025 where they introduced agent skills. I won't go into that. Alongside that, they also published a longer engineering blog post. And actually, I want to go through that in this video to really explain what skills are, give a little bit of context how that's kind of changing our work as web developers, as digital strategists. Before I dive into that, I just want to highlight that Anthropic open sourced what they call agent skill website or protocol. It's not really a protocol, it's basically a standard on agentskills.io. So it's a simple open forward for giving agents new capabilities and expertise. So what they try to do with the open sourcing, basically the standard, is very similar to what happened to MCP roughly a year ago. And MCP, as you may know, was adapted by all the major players. And they try to kind of replicate it. Already now, the adoption of agent skills is quite interesting. Obviously, OpenAI, one of the big players, is missing here. But my estimation is, and this is what my experience was in the last couple of days and weeks when I was starting to use skills. I think it's super powerful. And as I said before, I think agent skills will be a key in productive AI use. So let's dive into that engineering article. So it was published on October 16, 2025. Claude is powerful, but real work requires procedural knowledge and organizational context. Introducing agent skills, a new way to build specialized agents using files and folders. And here is the update. Actually, yesterday, 18th December, they published the agent skills as an open standard for cross-platform portability. This is the website I just showed before. And so now let's dive into the foundation ideas and principles, what agent skills are. As model capabilities improve, we can now build general-purpose agents that interact with fully fledged computing environments. Claude Code, for example, can accomplish complex tasks across domains using local code execution and file systems. But as these agents become more powerful, we need more composable, scalable, and portable ways to equip with domain-specific expertise. I think this is the critical thing, and the article actually goes into that. It's about composability, scalability, and portability. These led us to create agent skills, organized folders of instructions, scripts, resources that agents can discover and load dynamically to perform a better specific task. Skills extend Claude's capabilities by packaging your expertise into composable resources for Claude, transforming general-purpose agents into specialized agents that fit your needs. Building a skill for an agent is like putting together an onboarding guide for a new hire. Instead of building fragmented, custom-designed agents for each use case, anyone can now specialize their agents with composable capabilities by capturing and sharing their procedural knowledge. In this article, we explain what skills are, show how they work, and share the best practices for building your own. So this is exactly what's the important thing, and also the difference from what is used as general AI agent and actually skills. So in 2025, lots of organizations built whatever agent they thought is interesting. It could be a marketing agent, a sales agent, it could be a developer agent. And so they basically built agents for a specific use case, and they packaged just the given resources needed to build that specific agent. When you do that, that's cool, but what you end up with is, oh, now the marketing agent should somehow maybe have access to Figma, or maybe the marketing agent should also be able to, let's say, create blog post titles. And in the past, probably what you did then, you created a blog post title agent, or whatever capability you wanted. And so Anthropic actually said, let's forget about agents, let's build up skills. So you have a skill like you can interact with Figma, or you can skill that can analyze a given text and then create blog post title. So it's more like a skill. So agents not equal skill, but actually an agent is a collection of skills, and it's dynamic, it's composable, and it's scalable. So they created this little graphic here, which I think is very interesting. Okay, so I zoomed in a little bit so you can see it a bit better. All right, so actually the left part is the interesting part. So if you build an agent, what you typically have is something like the core prompt. So, for example, you are a marketing agent and you act as a very experienced, marketing professional with blah, blah, blah. And then instead of adding all the knowledge of the agent into the core prompt, you say, hey, you have a couple of skills. In this case, for example, you know how to use BigQuery, or you know how to interact with PDF documents, or you can write PowerPoint presentations, etc., etc. So basically you can compose and just take these skills and build the agent around it. And the general, let's say, agent on top is just your chat UI. It could be ChatGPT, it could be Claude, because the general chat UI agent LLM is so capable that you don't need to, create your custom LLM or your custom agent for specific tasks. So it anyway can already interact and process text, but then you add specific domain-specific skills, and this is all about the skills here, right? And then obviously you not only want to have specific skills, but you also want to interact with system outside. And for that, you can also equip a system with MCP. So the MCP is a protocol to interact from the local LLM to an external system. And you basically can kind of import the context from the external system tools, and basically can load data and interact with data from an external system. So this is actually the whole idea, and the skill concept, the skill standard, actually tries to specify what is an equipped skill and how does it look like. And well, in the end, it's just MD files and folders and maybe even executables, but this is further down in the article. So if you have this, and then you typically, and I think this is just Claude's internal architecture, then they have a virtual machine. So basically they boot up a little virtual machine, and inside there you have folders like the skills folder with BigQuery, docs, and you see already here there is a skill.md file, which is a summary what the skill is, and then some additional MD files which are referenced in the skill MD file to kind of extend the knowledge about it. And so this is the concept more or less. Let's go forward in the article. So a skill is a directory containing a skill MD file that contains organized folders of instructions, scripts, and resources that give agents additional capabilities. So this is just what I said. The anatomy of a skill. To see skills in action, let's walk through a real example. One of the skills that powers Claude's recent launch document editing capabilities. Claude already knows a lot about understanding PDFs, but is limited in its ability to manipulate them directly. For example, to fill out a form. This PDF skill lets you give Claude this ability. Let's quickly open that up. I think they just reorganized the skills. So there is a separate repository now. Anyway, they will also deep dive in another example in this article. As simplest, a skill is a directory that contains a skill MD file. This file must start with YAML formatter that contains some required metadata. Name and description, a startup, the agent preloads. At startup, the agent preloads the name and description of every installed skill into the system prompt. So this is also very interesting. I think there is here is an example. So you here have the PDF skill MD file, then you have the name, you have the description. The description actually, just explain the capability or the skill, right? And only this header is included in the system prompt. So this is very powerful because now let's say you have 10, 15, or even 50 skills in your local environment. And then it only injects this little header, name and description, and then the AI or the LLM can decide what capability, what skill I need to load to do a specific task. So it's kind of a way to inject these further capabilities, right? So, and this is now explained here. This metadata is the first level of progressive disclosure. It provides just enough information for Claude to know when each skill should be used without loading all of its context. The actual body of this file is the second level of detail. If Claude thinks the skill is relevant to the current task, it will load the skill by reading its full skill MD file into context. So if we go here, it says, okay, this is the body part. And then it says, okay, this guide covers essential PDF processing operations using Python libraries, etc. And then it even shows code and actually explains how you can use certain programs, certain software pieces. So it's like hinting the LLM to actually say, hey, if you want to process a PDF, you can do it in this way. And if you think about that, obviously what you can do is you can not only give a little bit of content, you can actually build up a fully fledged, almost like an API or processes, how to do things. And so it's really about a skill, right? So you can say, hey, you can edit PDFs, you can, store files there and there, or our project folders are structured like that. Please make a template out of it or restructure it based on this template, etc. A skill MD file must begin with a YAML formatter that contains a file name and description, which is loaded into the system prompt at startup. Voila, again. As skills grow in complexity, they may contain too much context to fit into a single skill MD file, or context that's relevant only in specific scenarios. In this case, a skill can bundle additional files within the skill directory and reference them by name from skill MD. These additional linked files are the third level and beyond of detail which Claude can choose to navigate and discover only as needed. In the PDF skill shown below, the skill MD refers to two additional files, reference MD and forms MD, that the skill author chooses to bundle alongside the core skill MD. By moving the form filling instruction to a separate file, forms MD, the skill author is able to keep the core of the skill lean, trusting that Claude will read forms MD only when filling out a form. So again, we have the introduction, what is the skill about, more context on how to process, and then give hints to sub-files, which then again specific on the task, give even more information on how to process, in this case, PDF files. So you see how that comes together now, right? So a skill is just the title, explanation in body, and then more files. You can incorporate more context via additional files into your skill that can then be triggered by Claude based on the system prompt. Progressively, disclosure is the core design principle that makes agent skills flexible and scalable, like a well-organized manual that starts with a table of contents, then specific chapters, and finally a detailed appendix. Skills let Claude load information only as needed. So this is just a summary of it. Again, skill MD metadata, always loaded, not a lot of tokens. Skill MD, larger, depending on how much context you want to give in the body, and then bundled files, text files, but also scripts, very interesting, and also data loads as needed by Claude. So super interesting. Agent with a file system and code execution tools don't need to read the entirety of a skill into their context window when working on a particular task. This means that the amount of context that can be bundled into a skill is effectively unbounded. So yeah, there is, in my experience, if you add, for example, MCP servers, and the MCP server has a lot of tools available, it's kind of interfering of the context window. So if you have too much of meta information, what external capabilities are, this can really degrade the performance of the LLM output. And so that's why I think Anthropic came up with this skill idea, with this kind of progressively looking up for context. And by the way, looking up this context is also very efficient, because they can grab through the files and can only load the stuff they need on the fly. So that's very powerful. Skills and the context window. The following diagram shows how the context window changes when skill is triggered by a user message. So yeah, this is just illustrating more or less of what I just told. So let's assume this is the context window. Then we have let's say the core prompt. And then once you start interacting with the system, then short snippets from each skill append to the system prompt. So they just are loaded also alongside the system prompt. And then actually you start interacting, initial message from the user. Users fill out this PDF based on what you know about me attached, and then basically the order form. And then certainly I'll use the PDF skill to help. So it could look up the PDF skill because it already knows it. It decides to use that, and then it actually uses it. So it's actually cutting through the skill, and then tool result, contents of skill MD file. And then it actually says, okay, there is a forms MD, detects it. And then it's just reading the forms file, and then it started to act based on these commands in there. Skills are triggered in the context window via your prompt skill, system prompt. And yeah, I think this architecture is very clever. So it's scalable, and instead of building agents which already have all the context in it, it's really composable, right? So this is super clever, and there is actually more to it, and I will dive into it now if we go on. The sequence of operations show to start the context window has the core system prompt and the metadata for each of the installed skills, along with the user's initial message. Claude triggers the PDF skill by invoking a bash tool to read the contents of skill MD. Claude chooses to read the form MD file bundled with the skin. Finally, Claude proceeds with the user's task now that it has loaded relevant instructions from the PDF skill. Skills and code execution. Skills can also include code for Claude to execute as tools as at his discretion. So yeah, in this third level, it's not only about text, it's also about scripts and data. So this part is about that, and this is where the power comes of skills. Skills can also include code for Claude to execute as tools at his discretion. Large language models excel at many tasks, but certain operations are better suited for traditional code execution. For example, sorting a list via token generation is far more expensive than simply running a sorting algorithm. Beyond efficiency concerns, many applications require the deterministic reliability that only code can provide. This is exactly the key feature here. If you add your custom code, which you deterministically built, tested, and the AI knows, okay, there is this powerful program, I just run it and it's always doing what it's meant to do. Yes, this is exactly what we are looking for, and this is very, very interesting. In our example, the PDF skill includes a pre-written Python script that reads a PDF and extracts extracts all form fields. Claude can run the scripts without loading either the script or the PDF into context. And because code is deterministic, this workflow is consistent and repeatable. All right, so here it says you can extract with a Python script provided by the Squill. You can extract the fields, and this is then the code, and this is deterministic code. So this will always work, and we will also save a lot of tokens because we don't have to, or the AI, the LLM, doesn't need to process the full PDF file, maybe even come up with a little program themselves to extract the files. So it's already pre-built and deterministic and packaged in a skill. Super powerful concept. Skill can also include code for Claude to execute as tools, as at its discretion based on the nature of the task. Yes. Yeah, so this is the base concept, right? So very interesting. And now the question is, how can I develop my own skill? So developing and evaluating skills. Here are some helpful guidelines for getting started with authoring and testing skills. Start with evaluation. Identify specific gaps in your agent's capabilities by running them on representative tasks and observing where they struggle or require additional context. Then build a skill incrementally to address these shortcomings. Structure for scale. When the skill MD file becomes unwieldy, split its contents into separate files and reference them. If certain contexts are mutually exclusive or rarely used together, keeping the paths separate will reduce the token usage. Finally, code can serve as both executable tools and as documentation. It should be clear whether Claude should run scripts directly or read them into context as reference. Think from Claude's perspective, monitor how Claude uses your skill in real scenarios, and iterate based on observations. Watch for unexpected trajectories or over-reliance on certain contexts. Pay special attention to the name and description of your skill. Claude will use these when deciding whether to trigger the skill in response to its current tasks. Iterate with Claude. As you work as tasks with Claude, ask Claude to capture its successful approaches and common mistakes into reusable context and code within a skill. If it goes off the track when using a skill to complete a task, ask it to self-reflect on what went wrong. This process will help you discover what context Claude actually needs instead of trying to anticipate it upfront. So, okay, a couple of tips on how to do that. Then security consideration when using skills. I think this is super, super crucial. Basically, if we have now these skill packages and we simply download it from somewhere on the internet, what you basically give is you give access to your shell, you give access to your full computer, and depending on the bad intentions of a skill provider, he can basically just have access to your system and do whatever they want if you're not cautious enough. Security considerations. Skills provide Claude with new capabilities through instruction and code. While this makes them powerful, it also means that malicious skills may introduce vulnerabilities in the environment where they are used or direct Claude to exfiltrate data and take unintended actions. We recommend installing skills only from trusted sources. Very, 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 very important. Don't just Google online and there is some a skill directory and then you download it and use it blindly. Don't do that. When installing a skill from a less trusted source, thoroughly audit before use. Start by reading the contents of the files bundled in the skill to understand what it does. Paying particular attention to code dependencies and bundled resources like images or scripts. Similarly, pay attention to instruction or code within the skill that instructs Claude to connect to potential untrusted external network sources. The future of skills. Agent skills support today across Claude AI, Claude. Okay. In the coming weeks, we'll continue to add features that support the full life cycle of creating, editing, discovering, sharing, using skills. We are especially excited about opportunities for skills to help organizations and individuals sharing their context workflows with Claude. We're also exploring how skills can complement model context protocol servers by teaching agents more complex workflows that involve external tools and software. Looking further ahead, we hope to enable agents to create, edit, evaluate skills on their own, letting them codify their own patterns of behavior into reusable capabilities. Skills are a simple concept with a correspondingly simple format. This simplicity makes it easier for organization developers and end users to build customized agents and give new capabilities. We are excited to see what people build with Skilled. Getting started today by checking out our skills documentations and the cookbook. Right, so yeah, this is what you need to know about skills. Again, I think this concept will be important from now onwards, especially because it's composable, because it's scalable, and it's so easy to use. Actually, in this video, I won't do a demo on how you can use it in Claude Code, for example. But what we do at our company already these days, we have company skills. For example, how we do, let's say, updates on projects. And we just run, okay, do update now, or do, update, do the testing, prepare a change log. And then, it just simplifies it. And instead of writing a documentation on how we do things, we can now use this documentation in skills, and Claude can be an assistant and basically follow these principles. I'm excited about skills, and I will invest a significant time for my AI tools to further automate. And the architecture is there, and my guess is that all major LLM providers will use agent skills as a core way to provide kind of AI apps, because in the end it's just a question on how you package it, and skill is really the combination of the additional context, instructions, software, even you can mention your MCP servers, and already now, and actually we can quickly open that up, agent skills, Anthropic. So there was this new, where is it? The news post here. No, it's actually not this one. Let's go, so this is the event. Let's go to the news. So I think it's under learn, or is it under news? And then here, all right, so I can share the link in the show notes about it. But anyway, skills is a cool thing. Try it out. What do you think about skills? Have you already built your own skills in your organization? I'm super curious. If you like content like that, please consider subscribing. This channel is all about AI, web development, digital strategy, and how AI can also help us build better products. And until then, see you in the next one. Bye-bye.